Welcome to Nick on Knicks, where your boy N.I.C rants about the latest Knicks news. Has there ever been a 10-game stretch where the Knicks were 8-2 that you felt more angst and you had more thoughts of what they maybe weren't than this past 10 games when the Knicks are 8-2? 8-2 in the last 10, 35-18 overall, third in the East, best record at the All-Star break since 1997, and that's with another game to play tonight against the Atlanta Hawks. And yet, if you are like me, you're a little bit worrisome about what this team is and what they can be and eventually will be against some of the upper echelon teams in the league. After 8-2 in the last 10, you should feel pretty good, right? Now, I do think that there is a happy medium here where you can be worried about how we've looked against OKC, Cleveland, and now Boston twice, OKC twice as well. And that second one was arguably our worst game of the season, I think, overall, just eye test and effort wise. We look like we gave up in that game. And let's go ahead and throw the Lakers in there. So when you have these teams that obviously have great records, championship aspirations, and in addition to that, some of the more upper echelon coaches in the league. This guy Dengel, he's probably going to win Coach of the Year this year. I wouldn't be surprised. Missoula. That's why I want to throw the Lakers in there, because of how they punked us this past Saturday. Not last Saturday, but the Saturday before that. And all of those teams seem to be schematically, effort-wise, personnel-wise, depth-wise, seem to be in a place that the Knicks are yet to reach. You have to be honest and say that we are currently we're not in Boston's league. There could be two things that are true. The Knicks are a very good team. OKC and Boston, we're not in their league. They are deeper than we are. Their top players more consistently show up in marquee games. And they also, I think, come in with a better game plan, and their coaching staff makes adjustments on the fly better than we do. Darlene and Keith, I see you in the chat. What's up? How y'all doing? Y'all know, and if anybody else is new here, I'm a Tibbs guy, but you got to call it how you see it. I'll fight the minute police all day, every day. People will want to blame OG Anunoby coming up lame with a foot that they're now calling a toe against the Lakers, with LeBron standing in front of him, collapsing to the ground, screaming out in pain, giving it up. LBJ showing concern. That's the only concern he showed for the Knicks all night, because he dominated us otherwise. And then, talked about it via social media, calling himself the king of New York afterwards. That's a Kendrick move, by the way. Another guy who's been in the news after his controversial Super Bowl appearance. I think if you didn't like it, it wasn't for you. And, if you want to blame that injury on Tibbs, I think you're a moron, honestly. I think you're mentally, you lack capacity. Ooh, glad I cleaned that up. I almost said something wild. And at the end of the day, there's times that I get a little bit concerned with the amount of minutes guys play. I think a lot of that was due more to circumstance than it is due to Tibbs. And I think that he has shown, especially going back to the beginning of this 8-2 stretch that we're on right now, the game against Atlanta, who we now end the All-Star break against tonight, back in the Garden, back second half of a back-to-back. We'll get into that later. But if you look at this team and where we are at right now, the biggest concern have been the same since the beginning. The defense and how do we play against the best of the best? And it's not even just the best of the best. The Knicks are currently 11-12 against teams above 500. We have beaten up on the lower half of the league thus far. And the rest of this season, we have the hardest, the most difficult record according to opponent win percentage. So we're about to find out what this team is really all about. Oh, starting off, I don't mean to start off negative. I'm trying to start off realistic. I'm trying to start off what I think is with the type of feeling that Knicks fans have currently. And you look at this team and there's certain things about it that are the best you have ever seen. The offense is the best you have ever seen. Scoring at will. Last night, the Knicks put up 128 points in a game where they made 10 threes. That's unheard of. It's not just bombs away. We can score in a multitude of ways. We have multiple guys who can get you 30, including now Josh Hart. We now have everybody in our starting lineup has had a 30-point game this season. Cat is an offensive dynamo, has a very tough game against Boston. I thought the Celtics did a great job of game planning against Cat, and I don't think that Cat himself or the coaching staff did quite a good enough job of counteracting that. But I think this team is a very good team. It's not a great team just yet. And the question is, what is it that takes us from being very good to great? And is that possible to achieve by late April? The defensive consistency has to be better. And that's just from a straight up effort place, not necessarily talking about, oh, we need to do this type of coverage. There's some of that too, and we'll get into it. But first and foremost, just the overall defensive effort needs to be better on a consistent night. I look at certain players. Brunson, I feel like recently has stepped up his effort. Mikhail has gotten to a point where he's more consistently been giving you the type of defensive effort and the type of impact player defensively that we shipped away all those picks for. Cat, I love Cat. He's not a good defender. He tries. He does. He tries. With him, it's not a bunch of like, oh, bad effort. It's just his inability to play with force without fouling. And also with Cat, the big thing is his instincts on the pick and roll defense are horrid. I mean, it's just something he just doesn't have. He just doesn't. He does not have that ability to bother the ball handler, but yet still not give up a passing lane for an easy finish from the big man who he's covering. And then when he does cover, he covers late and then he gives up an offensive rebound. I mean, it's just not his thing, man. Cat pick and roll defense, not his thing. What do you see the really smart teams do? They involve him in P&R over and over and over again. And with me, I'm bothered by the fact that the Knicks don't counteract that defensively, strategically. I'm also, and I say more so, bothered that the Knicks don't seem to exploit other teams' weaknesses on defense like other teams relentlessly attack ours. My guys, I'm always referencing them. This is where I get a lot of the anything that I say that you find to be remotely smart. It's probably from Hot Hand Theory. My guy XJ and my guy Jeff. Shout to XJ. Exchange some messages with him. Really just like appreciate what they do over there. They after the Boston game, they had to go live because there were so many things that they wanted to talk about. And I know as somewhat of a Tibbs apologist, I got to listen to them sometimes to kind of keep me in check because they're going to point out the shortcomings and the strengths of everybody, including Tibbs. I feel like Jeff in particular feels like Tibbs is not the guy. He's not a great coach. I think he thinks he's a good coach. I don't think he's a great coach. And they talk about that Boston game and how we approached it and the fact that Joe Mazzulla came in and said, "We're just not going to guard Precious Achua." And Luke Cornett was able to just basically play free safety. And now the Knicks are unable to really get into any sort of flow offensively. And then on defense, the Knicks are running something that looks like drop coverage when there's cat, and then other times it's just switching. But you know, I, Jason Tatum's really good. Okay. So it's not like, we're just getting worked over by some scrub. A lot of people have a hard time with Jason Tatum, but the two games we have played them this season, man, it just seems like we give this guy whatever he wants. You know that he has unlimited range. You cannot let him, especially if he has it going. But I think especially early in games to not let him get it going. You cannot play drop coverage on him and let him step into threes. And then once he gets hot, he just starts extending where that pull up can come from. And now he's standing on the K in Madison Square Garden and just cashing threes. And there's nothing we can do about it. Once he's going like that, there's nothing you can do with him. If you give him the same coverage over and over again, he is going to figure a way out to exploit it. And the amount of times, especially when they involve Cat in the pick and roll with Jason Tatum, that he walks into a three, it's insanity. You Cat, get up on him, make him make another move and dribble around you. Hey, he could do that little dribble, and I feel like he could take off on the free throw line. He gets the go-go gadget arms and he dunks it. Okay, that maybe we can rotate. We could do something with. And with the Celtics, they're smart enough. They're going to make the first rotation, second rotation. The guy's going to shoot a wide open three. And it seems like those motherfuckers on that team never missed, especially when they play against the Knicks. But it wasn't just a thing about a team never missing and the Knicks not being able to hit threes. Both of those things were the case, but they were getting better looks than we were. They came in with a game plan that was set up to exploit us. And now on the flip side, on the defensive end, they just don't guard Cornette. And now Cat has no spacing, and Cat has maybe his worst game of the season against Boston. It's very disappointing, man. Second week in a row, the Knicks do their thing, take care of business. They beat up on the teams they're supposed to. And then on a Saturday night in front of the entire country with everybody watching, the Saturday night big game against the Lakers one time and the Celtics the other time, the two most storied franchises in basketball. And neither of those games were close. You can't be happy about that if you're a Knicks fan. That's got to give you some pause. That's got to give you some wonder about whether or not this team is a team that can get out of the second round. There has to be improvements. There has to be adjustments. They have to be made by the players themselves. But I think when you talk about adjustments from players, that's mostly about like just effort. And I will say overall, I don't see this Knicks team dogging it too much. But we have to be better. Our coaching staff, Tom Thibodeau, has to be better about tailoring game plans to the specific team that he's playing. Plain and simple. You see a lot of teams out here, they run basically just like their base sets, and that's what they run. They have a couple wrinkles here and there. The Knicks are one of those teams. I've seen recently where the Knicks, I thought did a very good job of when you put a smaller player, a John Morant or a Trey Young on Mikal Bridges, where we feed Mikal and try to get him the ball in the post more. I like that. That's an adjustment. That's something I've been asking for more of that we haven't gotten, that I have seen a little bit more of here recently. What I would like to see more of in addition to that is us, depending on who we're playing, if they have a non-shooter on the floor, basically just don't guard that guy, similar to what teams do to us when we have Precious on the floor with Josh Hart. Or even in that Celtics game in the second half, we started Deuce. We should have started Deuce from the beginning. If that against that Celtics team, you cannot. Precious is close to. There are not a lot of minutes on the floor for you, Precious, against Boston. There's just not. They're too smart. And if you're not keeping up with them from the 3-point line, you're not not going to keep up and shoot as many as they do. But you got to occasionally try your best to somewhat keep pace with them. Especially if they're way off, that's one thing, but you're going to have a hard time beating them because they just get such quality threes throughout the game. If you're, making 10, not 10. Come on. Not 10. And as a matter of fact, Knicks didn't even get to 10. They were 9 of 24. Can't beat them like that. You can't. And Darlene, you make a good point. Shout to Darlene in the chat, always showing love. I don't see our assistant coaches doing nothing during the games. We lost Johnny Bryant to the Cavs. We see how they're doing over there. Rick Brunson, he seems to be very vocal, but I wonder who is the guy that is getting in, Othello Harrington, I don't think is getting in Tibbs' ear and saying, hey, listen, I know you don't want to get killed on the boards, but we're already getting killed on the boards. And we can't generate good offense because we have Josh Hart and Precious Achiuwa on the floor at the same time. We need to get Deuce in there. We might need to even get like a guy like a Shamet. And I've been killing Shamet. Just having a few more minutes out here instead of Precious, because we need shooting on the floor to be able to open it up against this team. And we need guys that can rotate and be able to get out to shooters. Is there anybody in Tibbs' ear like that, telling him that in real time? Because I will admit that some of these things I do see in real time, and I'm like, why are we doing this? Like the defensive coverage on Jason Tatum, the drop coverage by Cat. I was screaming all about all that in real time. But a lot of this other stuff, like I said, I gotta rely on Hot Hand Theory and Jeff and XJ. I gotta rely on the John Macri's of the world to give me a little bit more context. What's up? Who's my guy from Hoops Tonight? Let me look him up and give him some love, because he's another real smart dude when it comes to just breaking down hoops in a way and that makes you be able to really understand it, while at the same time, being somewhat highbrow, educating you a little bit. So I don't want to forget about him. Jason Timpf. There he is. That's my guy. Jason Timpf, Hoops Tonight on YouTube. Another guy, man, who, gives me good info, and sometimes it explains some stuff that I don't quite understand. Okay. But every once in a while, you got to just, bring to light HRM X great. I appreciate the engagement. I appreciate you commenting. Please comment again. We love all takes in here, but this take is wild. If you think that Huck Porty could do anything with Jason Tatum, you're out of your mind. Jason Tatum would have that man on skates, and we'll get whatever he wants against Huck. Huck Porty would have 6 fouls in a minute of trying to guard Jason Tatum. Let's be serious. Jason Tatum is not a guy you guard with one person. except for maybe OG and Anobi. And that's a big part too. We're missing OG in that game. That's the reason you have an OG and Bridges is so that you can deal with Brown and Tatum. I understand different look, man. I know he said, but no, you can't. Huck Porty is a center who's a young center who's not a great defender and has had a few moments and played like barely any minutes this entire season. There's no way that you say, all right, this guy's cooking. What we're gonna do with him is we're gonna send Huck Porty at him. Nah. And the thing is that it has to be a team defensive thing because Boston, the way that they run their screens, they do so to get the matches that they want. Their shooters are too good, so you have to start switching. Once you start switching, they get into the matches that they want. And then, honestly, they were trying to attack Jalen Brunson, and Jalen Brunson actually did a very good job defending that game, getting switched on to all different players and getting bodied up, and he was doing his thing. I thought that the team defensive scheme and some of the rotations were silly. Another thing that other teams do a lot better than us is they know who to help off of and who not to. I feel like the Knicks kind of just help off of everybody and try not to give up an open shot. The highlight of that this season was back when Wesley was when Wesley hit the three against us for Detroit and Josh Hart helped off of him. Not Wesley, Beasley. Sorry. Beasley hit the three, which I think he just set their record for threes in a season at the All-Star break. Josh Hart helped off of him to go to Tim Hardaway Jr. and they kicked it to him. He had a wide open three and the game was over. One of the worst losses of the season, in my opinion. Yeah, man. I just think that the Knicks need to be a little bit smarter about that. Now, there's a lot of things to be very excited about when it comes to this Knicks team. And I'm not one of these people who lives in like, oh, we're going to be good for the next few years. Or look what happened next year or whatever. No. I want it now, this year. And as the graphic says below me, OG and Mitch are both close. OG is running, Mitch working out, running, taking some contact. I don't think there's any way that I think OG's already went ahead and been ruled as out for this game against the Hawks. And without any setbacks, I think OG is looking like he will be back post All-Star break. And I think any Knicks fan who saw him go down in a heap against the Lakers has to be very, very excited, pleasantly pleased that he does look like he will be able to return after the All-Star break. And I think once you add Mitch to the equation, it changes everything. I think there's going to be an adjustment period. But I've now seen Cat play on the floor with Huck Porty. I've seen him play with Precious quite a bit. So I think that it's something that can definitely be done. And you'll basically have 4 out plus Mitch in the dunker spot. Now, if one of those other players is Josh Hart, that gums up the works a little bit. Josh Hart was amazing last night. 30 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, just coast to coast. Fantastic, chemistry between he and Cat. Some of the passes Cat made last night were crazy. I think Cat hits a 3, gets an and 1. I don't remember exactly what order those two came in, and then he gets a steal and throws the no look to Josh Hart, and then Josh Hart goes up for the layup, and I'm like, yep, this man Cat is wild. Yeah, that was a great play by Cat. And those two were hooking up all night. Pause. And they were just doing a great job of picking up the slack for Brunson, who had a down game. Brunson was held in single digits for the first time all season. He had only 8 points in his 22 minutes, still found a way to have 7 assists. But he had 5 fouls. He had 3 in the first half, picked up his 4th early in the second half, frustrated with the refs all night long, and just wasn't able to give you the typical Jalen Brunson experience that you're used to. Cat said, "No worries, I got you. I got you." Cat was unreal last night. I mean, he seemed like he refused to not just refused to lose. He didn't even want this to be a game. I mean, that second quarter, he was unreal. The third quarter, he was great as well. But in the second quarter alone, Karl Anthony Towns, he played all 12 minutes of the second quarter. He was 5 of 7 from the field, 1 of 2 from behind the arc, 4 of 4 from the line, 15 points, 2 steals, and 3 assists, and a rebound. That was a monster last night, especially in the second quarter. I thought we really took control of the game in that second quarter, and I think a lot of that has to be attributed to Karl Anthony Towns and his dominance. Miles McBride, 9 points in that second quarter. Deuce had a very good game himself. Loved what I saw out of Deuce. When Deuce plays like that, it doesn't even have to just be hitting threes. It's about when he is aggressive, when he is pushing the ball, when he's making a play here or there on defense, and Deuce is shooting 50% on wide open threes. I'm going to be interested to see what the starting lineup is tonight. I personally think that the starting lineup without OG is better by inserting Deuce as opposed to inserting Precious, just because of the shooting and the spreading of the floor. And there's lots of numbers to support that. The Precious and Josh Hart pairing, those numbers don't typically go so well for the Knicks. I know Tibbs is worried about rebounding. I know. And if you get killed on the boards, it's hard to win games. If you can't hit threes and you can't generate good threes in today's NBA, it's nearly impossible to win games. The Hawks, who we play tonight in the Garden, and anytime that Trae Young comes to the Garden, it's always a big deal. And the Knicks so we've played them 3 times. This is going to be the 4th. Typically, we would only play them 3, but they are one of that extra game was for the midseason tournament. Knicks have lost 2, and they've won 1. The most recent one being on MLK Day. The game that, in my opinion, was the beginning of kind of a turnaround for the Knicks here recently. Those 2 Saturday debacles, pushed aside. But now, as we go back to the Garden to play this Hawks team, man, the Hawks, they pretty much mailed it in on the season. Once Jalen Johnson got hurt, that was them. That was it for them. They were just like, nah, man, we all right. They basically, decided that they were going to send out some of their best players. Bogdanovich is gone. I've always thought that Bogdanovich was a really good player. This past year, he's kind of fallen off. Hasn't been the player that we expect him to be. And then DeAndre Hunter ended up on the Cavs, which is a problem for the rest of us, especially the Knicks, because DeAndre Hunter kills us. And, there's not a lot of scenarios where you see the Knicks getting to an Eastern Conference final and not having to match up against the Cavs at some point. So it'll be interesting to see now with this Hawks team depleted, shipping out some of their better players, what this game is going to look like tonight. Knicks are on the second half of a back-to-back. Cat logged 40 minutes last night. But Jalen Brunson's minutes were low. Mikal Bridges' minutes were low. So both of those guys tonight have to step it up. Mikal Bridges played 28 minutes and 53 seconds. That is light cardio for him. Brunson played 22 minutes and 43 seconds. That's about half of what he typically plays in a closely highly. You know what? Let me fall back on that. Tibbs has been doing a great job, I think, of getting Brunson rest, especially in the second half, letting that fourth quarter get into the about halfway mark before he reinserts Brunson. It was one of my biggest criticisms of Tibbs in that Lakers game is that Brunson played the entire second half. I don't care what the situation is. I don't care how close the game is. With how hard Brunson has to work, the fact that Brunson is able to score the way that he is at his size and his athletic ability means he has to work hard to do it. He can't play 24 minutes in the second half. Can't do it. It's not for him. I don't think that when he does that he has, the best finishes to those games. And Darlene, you're right. Brunson did not have it last night. The refs definitely had a hand in that. But you know what? Again, I got to keep it a buck because I will be the first person to get on here and kill the refs. I don't think the refs did a bad job last night. I don't think they did. I don't think Brunson played very well. He didn't play up to his typical standard. And I thought that he just got some stupid fouls at certain points. Shout out to everybody checking us out on all the different platforms, whether that be YouTube, Twitch, X, or Instagram Live. Wherever you're at, give us a like, give us a thumbs up, give us a share. And also, hop over to the YouTube page and subscribe there. That's the one that allows us to interact the most for you to be up to date on when the different lives are dropping. And that's the one that helps out me the most personally. So please and thank you. Yeah, man. This Knicks team has a chance tonight to go into the All-Star game feeling pretty good. When you are 9-2 in the last 11, third in the East, going into the All-Star break, 2 starters. Come on, man. If you're a Knicks fan and we could all find some things that we would like to see be done better. We can find some things to complain about. But if you're one of these people who's like, yo, the cat trade was whack, Brunson fell off, Bridges, we gave up too much for him, Josh Hart, we need to trade him for a piece or something like that, or fire Tibbs. If you one of those, you got to be real young, or you just have no sense of history, because these are good times. We got to rejoice a little bit. We got to feel good about this Knicks team and where they're at right now. Do we have work to do? Absolutely. We have work to do. If we want to get out of the second round, get to the conference finals, and possibly get to and contend for a championship, we absolutely have work to do. Health is always a crapshoot in this league. We've been fairly fortunate thus far. And especially if we're able to, and what it looks like, avoid serious injury with OG, and he does not have to miss extended time. And we come back from the All-Star break, OG's playing, and then, Mitch is taking, playing real practices in between now and then. And then, he's coming in slowly. We got to ease Mitch in. Best case scenario, I want 15 minutes of havoc from Mitch. Ease Mitch in. And then you just got to pray all these guys are ready to go when it comes late April. And then just roll the ball out there and see what we can do. I've seen Tibbs learn and make adjustments already this season. And I think he will continue to do so. I don't just hope so, I think so. Because I've seen him do it throughout his career, especially during his Knicks tenure. Whew. Yeah, man, it's going to be an interesting one tonight. With it being the second half of a back-to-back, you don't want to get down early and have to expend a bunch of energy trying to come back. If that Precious lineup is getting killed with Precious and Josh Hart in the game, I want Tibbs to make a quicker adjustment and get my guy Deuce in there. Landry Shamet, can you hit a 3 again tonight? Just like one, maybe 2? Like a couple plays, Landry? Campaign, can you stack some good games? Can you be measured and not just chuck up some wild ass 3 when you're not even hot and we don't have momentum and you just take us just totally out of the shit? Can you get into the paint a little bit, make a pass here and there, run the offense? A couple of 40 minutes here and there. But Bridges and Brunson, they got to score tonight, man. Cat carried the load last night. He's 7 feet tall. He's got a bulky knee. Against Boston, I was like, "Yo, Cat's hurt, man. We just, shit. We need to let him sit down." But no, Cat comes back the next night and he's unbelievable. Yo, the thumbnail of this episode, the shit where he goes baseline and tippy toes and somehow goes up and boom, buffs it with 2 hands. Yo, that was some shit, Cat. I'll fuck with you. I thought Cat was fantastic, man. He took that game and forcefully took it over in the paint, getting to the rim, finishing with each hand, strong on the rebounds. I thought Cat did a better job of gathering himself in the paint and getting off a quality shot as opposed to just like a wild foray where he ends up just flicking it up. Nah, man, gather yourself. You 7 feet tall, go up and just put that shit in. I'm really interested to see, man, what this team is going to be able to do tonight in this game. If we win in a laugher, I'll feel great. If we win it all, I'll feel good. But if we win in a laugher, I'll feel really great going into the break. Josh Hart, go put your feet in the sand like you said you wanted to, but make sure you do it somewhere where there's a gym and you can get up some threes. OG, I want you in the, running in the pool and getting stem and all that other shit. Mitch, hey man, Mitch, keep talking shit. He's talking shit online. I like that, Mitch. He said everybody's sleeping. He about to wake him up. Okay, Mitch, come on. Come show me. You ain't getting traded. You ain't going nowhere. We can kill all that noise. Come on back for the stretch run and let's rock. $7:30 p.m. tonight at the Garden. The Knicks close out the pre-All-Star break portion of the season against the hated Atlanta Hawks and new All-Star Trae Young. Initially was snubbed, and then he was added to the team once there was an injury. I think it was Giannis. So, is he on the national stage looking to show everybody why he definitely should have been and is an all-star? Are the Knicks, and specifically Jalen Brunson, looking to make a statement once again against the hated Trae Young after he disrespected the Madison Garden floor? Can JB bounce back after his first single-digit effort of the season? Which version of Mikal Bridges will we get on the offensive end? And which version will we get of him in guarding Trae Young? Interesting game. I'm looking forward to it. Tomorrow we got He Did This to Me and the big guy, as we do it every single week, 76th week straight, where he and I will talk about the Knicks, the Mets, the Jets, and whatever is the latest in the sports news. Darlene, HRM, as always, my guy Kev. Appreciate you all in the chat showing love. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, share it. It's your boy Nick on Knicks. Peace.